All right. Well, tonight, me and Kurt put a little bit of something together to kind of go over transition offense into dribble drive. Kurt probably will agree with me. I don't think it's just specific to dribble drive. It could probably go into just basic concepts, but we're kind of known as the dribble drive kind of guys. So Kurt wanted to kind of do a little bit of flow, and so did I. We haven't really covered that yet. Everybody talks about dribble drive, but they don't really talk about how to get into it. So Kurt, I know, has a few either sets, entries, or even maybe a little bit of video. I'm not positive what he prepared for you guys, but I know he got. The joke is, we were joking around. We got a little laugh. The no fluff, no all content guys. So it's Kurt Guelsdorf, Clackamas Junior College. Great guy for Dribble Drive. So thank you guys for attending.
All right. I'm in. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go through. It's just about 10 or 11 slides on flowing into it. And so go to full screen. I'm going to talk about flowing in transition, and if anything comes up where maybe my screen glitches out or anything, just shoot Marc or throw something in the chat, and he'll kind of watch that. What I found after being a dribble drive guy for a while there, and as I got better at it, the biggest thing was trying to get seamless transition. There's a couple things before we get into it that I want to go over. And I use traditional number break, so if you look at that first diagram there, you're going to see your typical 2, 3, whether you want to push them down to the corners like I do. That's typically what I would consider number break, where the 5 either took it out or whatever, or you got a rebound and you push down the floor. That's there. And then you look on the right side, you've got your kind of your 5 out Milwaukee Buck spacing, where coaches now, that's pretty common to see. And you see that 2-sided break kind of being a thing where you're going to get to those 5 outside spots. You may have a rim runner and then leak them out to the left or the right, but you're going to fill those 5 outside spots. I kind of like still the traditional break. And then when I flow into my 5 out, I do that out of that 4 out, 1 in, it becomes 5 out because the spacing for me is better. But I think that's something that all of you might want to explore. We got a little downtime maybe still before all of our teams get going, because there are some cool things you can do with 5 out, and it's kind of a big trend right now. And you watch the NBA, they're always trying to create space there in the middle. As we move on, I think it's important, a couple things. Over the years, what I've found for me is if I have an aggressive point guard, I want to try to give them as much space as possible. So if I've got that kid that not only is my point guard, but maybe my primary or secondary scorer, I think the number break gives you the best spacing. You talk about flowing, I think all of us come out on day 1 or day 2, and we're going to put in our transition. I think as you look at your point guard, trying to figure out, how you're going to do it, I think there's probably still a trend. Most of us are probably number break of some kind, but I always felt like that gave my point guard more room. Now, again, if I have a point guard that's maybe a facilitator, maybe a great defender, non-scorer, then maybe 5 out spacing with the 2-sided break might be something that gets it out of their hands quicker and lets them become either a screener or simply just gets them out of the way. So I think that's something to think about when you're deciding or looking at maybe, because I always think it's good to look at things. I think the more we examine what we do, maybe at the end of the day, you come to the conclusion that, I really like what I do. And it reaffirms what we do. Or maybe at the end of the day, you come to a conclusion that you can do it a better way. So I think it's always good to self-examine and self-evaluate and kind of looking at what you do. Moving on to the next one, we'll start getting into some things that I think have helped me a lot. Is when you're transitioning, I think that it's really important that as a coach, we have trust in our point guards. Early in the season, I'm trying to build a tough, hard-nosed point guard that can handle pressure and push the ball down the floor. And I've got my eyes forward. Now, I put coach in 2 spots. Obviously, for one half of the game, we're looking one way, and the other half, we're looking the other. But I'm always trying to look up into the highlighted zone as a coach, whether that's on my side or the far side. And I want to look ahead. And immediately what I try to do in my break is I'm reading the corners. How are they playing our corners? And that will dictate a lot of the script that I run based on how they're playing them. If it's in denial, like on the left side, we're probably coming down into some drops, or we're going to clear and go isolation because they're probably hugging a little bit. You know, maybe they're aggressive team that's on the line, up the line, and we could take advantage of that. If we've got teams that are running back, getting a little more flat, that will dictate some of the action, whether we start it with a kick up or maybe even just a simple freeze dribble at that X2 or even our fake handoff action. And to me, and I put that as a secret sauce. And that's only because I think if we get our eyes too much on the ball, coaches, I think we miss things. I think we have to get our eyes off the ball and examine what's going on. And again, if you're a motion guy and you're looking at the screening action, maybe that's where your eyes are. But I'm not a person that's going to just literally keep my eyes on the ball. I think looking down the floor is really important, and something I did not do a good job of early in my career. I was terrible. I was probably focused on the ball. I missed a lot of things down the floor. So I really think that's a big deal in whatever offense you run. Moving on. Here's the X's and O's that we're going to get to, because again, I want to give you guys content to look at and some of my favorite actions. And when I call them actions, I think it's not a set play per se. It's more of just something simple. Like in the first example, it's simply just a 1-5-3 entry. I think my man Adrian in Australia was running this and got some good luck out of that. But it's simple action that gets you an isolation for your three. It starts your offense. And for us, it flows right into a borderline triple gap, you know, depending on how they play it. You're trying to avoid switches with the deep cuts. And on that wave action, you just end up with a simple isolation for the three with a two-man in the corner. And so, you know, that's just to me an action, not really a set play, but something that we'll install on day one just to get that flow going and understanding to move the ball quickly. And again, a step that if I've got a good three or a good two driver, I can run this to both sides. In the middle, you know, Princeton's been one of my deep dives. I try to keep it pretty simple. And the chin stuff fits really, really well with dribble drive, you know, the 1-5-3 or the traditional Princeton where it starts with a dribble handoff. I mean, either of those to me are great actions that flow. And again, using that word flow right into dribble drive. And again, if you're a coach that likes your four, I like my four a little bit lower, kind of almost creeping out toward that NBA dunk spot. And then we'll lift them up a little bit if we have some action for the post. But those are, you know, three things there that I really like. Kind of two of the same here with the chins. But again, to me, it's action that flow right into it. And again, feel free to take pictures or whatever. This is not a super long one. I think, again, Marc and I wanted to make sure we shared on this one and kind of give you guys a glimpse of what we're getting to and some of the A to Z stuff that we'll talk about later. Vertical series, I really like this. This to me fits for you guys that are thinking, well, maybe my five is more of a post-up guy. I call this my vertical series. We have a V1, V2, V3, whatever you want to. That's what I use because I keep it simple. I can put it on one hand, and it starts with a kick to the two. The two will lift a little bit, and then we'll set what I call a vertical screen. I don't know what technically I'm supposed to call it, but that's the name that I used. And we can get that into a post-up. We can get that into a crackback. We can get that into a clear-out. But this is action I really like, where you end up with that ball in that NBA mid-post. If you guys have been watching the playoffs, and I love watching the NBA because of the really great stuff they have to get in 24 seconds, this is a big area for them, that mid-post, mid-range, and spending some summers with Drew Hanlon down working with his guys. He is constantly working those guys in that area, and that's a tough place to guard. It's a place where you can get to the paint in one dribble. You can shoot over a smaller player, or you can just simply get a paint touch. And paint touches are big. We measure those. We have a staff of 2 on the bench, so we can't chart everything. But paint touches is one thing we are going to chart. And so this vertical action is how we start it. And then from there, you can do a lot of things. I'm going to show you 2 or 3 things that I do. The first one, obviously, is this post-up option, where it enters to 5, and you can decide you want to go crack back like Golden State does and bring the 1 behind it and slip the 2, or you could just enter to the 5 and run the Laker cut either below or above. I've got it above in this picture, and just give that 5 opportunity to play. But it's a great way to enter, and it's a great way to get ball reversal, because you'll see in the next slide here where you get that ball reversal. But again, that vertical series is kind of fun, and it's a perfect flow into your dribble drive. Here's what we would call a V2, which is a backdoor set. This is one that We've got a ton of miles out of. It's a pretty cool little action here where, again, we get a simple kick ahead against probably a flat defense. We've identified that X2 and X3 are playing more pack line, so we're going to lift, set that vertical screen. One's going to shape up to the ball. We're going to decoy there, and we're going to run 5 off that. And we do about 3 or 4 things off that baseline runner for 5. One thing philosophy-wise on the women's side, I don't think it's a great shot necessarily for a shooter to come off away from the rim. On the men's side, maybe a little bit different, but I don't know if that's a great shot with your momentum going away. So I try to run different action out of that, whether it's a backdoor like this one, or you can see in the next slide, I'll have a little bit something different there for you to look at. But we call this our vertical series, and it's action that works with any kind of numbered break. And again, I think it's really good to start it. It gets you a good ball reversal. In this case, it's eye contact with 1 and 2, and then a backdoor cut on that one. And I encourage you guys, it's a spin action where the 1 fakes it to the 5, reverse pivots, and throws it back to 2. But it's a great set, especially late game if you've got an overplay situation or maybe a hot shooter for 2 and you want to backdoor them. Good one to put in your package. Isolation wise, I think I had some other vertical series, and if anybody wants to get, I can send you the whole thing. I think another great way to flow into your dribble drive, kind of like Calipari did early on in his dribble drive, is give your players room to go. And I've got 5 little actions here. The first one in frame A is simply just clearing your 2 out and letting your one man become a 2-way driver. You know, listening to Doug Novak a bunch over the last 12 months or so, and then watching his team. And he's trying to create a lot of 2-way drives, and he does it a couple different ways. But this is a situation where 1 simply clears the 2 out, very similar to the Wahlberg push. So if you run any of the Wahlberg push action in your zone, it's great for your man-to-man too, and it can flow right into your dribble drive. You know, you get an elbow drive, 5 comes behind, you get a baseline drive, you get a tee up, you could throw the drift pass, and all sorts of good action can happen there. In frame B, it's the same type action, but now we enter it to the 2. The 1 kind of arrow cuts away, and now we let our 2 into a 2-way drive. Same thing with the 3 in frame C, where it's an X cut, where we go 1, 5, 3. We have 1 go strong side, 5 go away, and we allow 3 to get into a one-way, or excuse me, in that case, it's more of a one-way drive in frame C. But the idea is really to just give your player an isolation situation. If you wanted to completely isolate the 3, you could have them both cut away and go from there. Frame D is an action we run all the time. It's just a simple 1 to 5 pass where 1 clears, 5 starts your offense. And again, if you have a facilitator for the 1 and maybe not necessarily a score, great action to start your offense. The vertical series, another great action. We've got a dynamic 5 right now, and so a lot of our stuff looks like frame D here, where we start it with the 5 and we go from there. And you could loop cut them if you'd rather keep the 1 up. You could just take 1 and loop them out. We found that some teams will switch that loop cut, so we like that deep cut right there. Then in frame E, that's a Doug Novak idea. I want to give credit where credit is due. That's that fan action where we go 1 to 5, the 2 is cleared, and 1 space is away. The spacing's been a little bit off when we've run it, but I think it's good action. Again, you just make X1 have to make a decision, and you let the 5 get downhill. And again, I think isolations flow really well in a dribble drive, and going into the college level, I probably didn't run a ton of them in high school, but at the college level, you do have some kids that can make plays, and we do in high school too. But I just felt like that utilizing some of the stuff was really good for us, and I really liked it, even if it just created the paint touch. Because I think in dribble drive, if you're a dribble drive coach, paint touches should be number 1 on your list, if not 1A. If you've got a list going of things that you have to be good at, it's getting into paint. So I think isolation is a great way to do it. Corner ball screen. If you guys have seen any of my stuff on YouTube, you've maybe seen this one before. This is one that we would run after an ATO quite a bit. Because we don't set a ton of ball screens, it's got a little element of a surprise to it. It's a little bit of the Tex Winter triangle action. It's a 1-5-3 entry, and the 1 sprints through. The ball's moving quickly. It's a great one to run when your team feels a little stagnant, or you feel like they're not moving the ball real well. Like I said, 1-5-3, ball goes to the corner to 1, 4 steps up, sets a little screen. That forces X4 to take a step back, and then you run corner ball screen. And like I said, it's a great ATO. It's a great after halftime, or it's a nice little adjustment, or a team maybe hasn't seen your ball screens, or maybe your team is a little stagnant. It moves the ball 4 times before you even get any action going, and I like that as far as aggressively attacking the paint, moves the defense. And again, if you look at the stats for first side versus second side versus third side, your shooting percentages go way up. So I think that's something important also to consider, what side you get the ball to. That's a good action, and that's something that I've been running for lots of years and had good success with. And again, it flows right into your dribble drive. You've got 2 shooters spaced. You've got a roller. 5 starts to slip behind, and then we're right into dribble drive. Some things to think about before I turn it over to Marc. And again, I want to give you guys content. I want you to also think about some things. For me, flow means finding actions that fit your spacing. And it really can be any set play that you've got in your package that you really like, whether it's a back screen, whether it's a ball screen, back screen, whatever action that you really have. I think to me, flow means it just fits what you're doing as you're moving down the floor. I think you got to know your players. We have a list. We try to keep it pretty basic of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or maybe we have their numbers, and we have that action that gets them a shot or gets them an opportunity. For example, if we wanted our trailer 5 to get a look, we would have 2 or 3 things that we knew we could run either in transition or the half court that flows for that player. For me, flow also is not doing too much. Don't make these actions complicated. I think 1 or 2 things, whether it's a ball reversal into an isolation, whether it's a simple clear out, I think it's got to flow. I think save your set actions to dead situations, 3-quarter deads, half court deads. The defense is completely set and your team is walking it down. I save those for then. I think if you want to be a fast break team, and I think a lot of us say that, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but a lot of coaches are like, oh yeah, we fast break. And then you look at the numbers and they really don't. And sometimes that has to do with probably trying to do too much in transition. So I would keep it simple, let your players make plays. And when I had that slide up, and I'm going to go back to that here real quick. When I had the slide up that talked about looking ahead, I think only about 10% of the time am I going to call anything if I feel like we have an advantage. If we feel like as that we're going down the floor and we've got numbers, we're going to attack and attack the rim, whether it's with a kick ahead or a ball reversal, we're going to keep it pretty basic. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. But I think what I do when I'm looking here is a defense that's transitioned pretty well. We know we want to flow into dribble drive, and I think that's where my eyes are down the floor. And I think it's really important to read your corner defenders. That X2 and X3 kind of dictate everything we want to do. And even in the days when we were a high-low post-up team, same thing. We were in triangle and we were transitioning, and we were always trying to read that corner defender, and that really dictated where the ball went to next. And so I think that's huge. If you take one thing away from the presentation, I would encourage you to have those eyes up. And let me scroll back to kind of where I was and get to talking about that again. Eyes up, players, coaches, eyes up down the floor, because I think that helps your flow big time. It allows you to see things. Hey, they're set. We can maybe run a wave action or a chin action. And then obviously I didn't have anything on the last side. So that's kind of things to help you flow. But I think, looking at all those things, I think you can take any actions. I've got over the years collected 50, 60, 150,000 different little actions. And some of them really flow well with dribble drive. Others don't. And remember, for us, if you think about what dribble drive is based on, if you want to go back to what Wahlberg said, you want great spacing, you want an attack mentality, and create gaps. And I think that's the things that you have to keep in mind when you think about the flow action. And so, that's what I've got. If anybody wants to email or ask for different actions, I got lots of them, but I didn't want to talk for 2 hours. I wanted to keep it to about a half an hour and let Marc go for a half an hour and then be able to take some questions too. So I'm going to escape here so I'm not in full screen, or actually I'll stop my share and see if there's anything in there that, does anybody have any specific things? I do have my fast draw ready to go.
Let's do you first, Kurt, because they might ask some things that I might be covering. Because we do a lot of the similar stuff. I was going to do more dribble handoff stuff, and
right. Love it.
How we make the reads. What I teach my high school players on the variations of what we do. So,
right.
Anybody got any questions? You can unmute yourself, raise your hand. Let's see, we got any specials versus denial or sagging in transition or what, Tim?
Making the read to the corner, and they had players playing either flat or they're playing up the line. Is there something special that you guys try to nail with that? You're just
drops?
Yeah, when I see that the word denial, I'm thinking drops. Or isolation for my best player, because typically a team that might be in denial might be hugging a little bit more. We'll run what we call either arrow cuts or a zip cut that kind of cuts right through, kind of like Iverson almost, that forces that player to chase. And then with your sagging, I think you've got to get it at least to the second side. You've got to get them moving a little bit. I think if you just come down and pound it against them in the sagging, and we like a couple things against sagging that I'll tell you, Tim, is fake handoffs and fake dribble handoffs. That kind of confuses the defense a little bit. So just to give you a thought, is like a 1-2. We're coming for a dribble handoff. We call it a Chris Paul move. We fake handoff and go. Or we might post up the 2 on the 3-point line, and that we call our in series. We're going to go entry to there, and then we're going to fake handoff and get to that paint. So you've got to find a way to create a little bit bigger gaps against the sagging, but you can do that. And that to me is my first 2 adjustments: fake handoffs and dribble fake handoffs. And then from there, we'll start moving the ball. We're running an action we call rocket, which is very similar to wave. And there's a lot of things, but that's the 2 that I think of right off the bat. And you can shoot me an email too if you want to get on board with some more stuff there.
all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question, Tim.
Perfect. 29 minutes. Look at me. 6:29, baby.
Okay, we got, how are you calling the different actions? Is it all reads? Do you signal off dead ball, foul shot, ATO situations?
Yeah, it's going to be a read. If you're off a missed shot, coach, we're going to try to push it and try to get numbers and probably not say too much. If there's a little bit of delay getting the ball down the floor, or, we know a team is sprinting. A lot of times in high school, we were very aggressive in our fast break, and a lot of times teams were sending 5 back and not crashing anybody. And so we really ran a lot of those actions to get it started, the wave and that kind of stuff. And then off a dead ball, foul shot, ATO, you should buy my book on specials. No, I'm kidding. Yes, we're gonna probably run something that's gonna get us a bucket.
What's the book? I'll buy it.
There you go. We're about ready to get it up. Marc and I finally have the final cover to it. I did a clinic with Marc on special situations. And then I cleaned it up and I made it a little bit better. I told them that, it ended up being like 53, but there's some philosophy in there that I think is really good about attacking special situations. There are some set plays, there's 15 or 20 sets in there, but there's also like things to think about that I know that as a young coach, I was terrible at. And as I got along, I got better, and I still, I'm always trying to be winning those chances that we can win as a coach. I think sometimes we as coaches try to win everything, and we overcoach. But I do think when the ball is dead somewhere on the court, we can win that. And I mean, run an action that gets our best player shot. Have something in our bag that puts the ball in the right spot. We're up 25. It doesn't matter what you do. You're beating a bad team. Doesn't matter what you do. But I'm talking about you've got a game to win a conference championship, state championship. NWAC championship, conference, whatever situation it is for you guys. I think we as coaches have to try to win those. And I have the book covers from jump ball, beginning of the game, to end of game, EOGs, end of quarters. And I think, like I said, there's some philosophy in there and some sets. So we'll probably price it at, I don't know, something inexpensive so people can get it. Cause I like sharing. I'm a big
Mark,
sharer.
you'll let us know on the Facebook group, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark and I will keep you posted for sure. It's close. We've got it almost done.
Okay.
It'll
Yeah,
be
it's great.
slowly. It's really good stuff. So, I mean, also I have the video clinic that he actually did it. So, a copy of it. So, real quick before I get started, little thing that I want to tell you guys about. Some of you know, some of you don't. Me and Kurt have joined forces with some things, and tonight was just a kind of sample too. We're doing an A to Z DDM course. It's 6 weeks, 12 sessions. We did an introductory price at $49.99, and then it moved to $69.99. But I have a code if anyone wants it. If you're interested, I'm going to put the link up. If you put TBP in, it would save you $10. It's $59. The question I keep getting on emails, and Kurt keeps getting on emails, is, do you have to be in attendance? No, you don't. To get the 12 courses, you don't have to be in attendance. The thing that you'll miss out on is, for that session, being able to ask us live Q&A questions for that specific topic. I'll put the link up. It's 12 different sessions, and the biggest thing that we talked about is whether you see a Vance Wahlberg tape, who's the master. I'm not even going to deny it. He knows more about dribble drive than me and Kurt. I mean, he invented it. So we're both pretty much Wahlberg purists, if you will, to an extent, and is how to implement it. I mean, everybody's heard blood drills, daily 45 drills, all that good stuff, but there's some things with it that people don't get on how to install it, how to implement it, and we put together a course with that, practice planning, the drills that you need to use, like Keith's question tonight, DDM versus pressure, DDM versus pack line, which is a big question, DDM versus switching, DDM versus zone, and then more of what Kurt's gotten into. Some of you have seen it, but we even have more stuff advanced, like dribble handoffs, incorporating ball screens. If you have a talented post player, bring them out to the perimeter and get into DHOs and things with him. And then we have the big one that no one really talks about, player development. What are you doing in your off seasons to help develop the offense? I have Doc on here tonight. He's listening. Doc's huge on player development, and it doesn't matter if you got drive and kick, what your formations, what you're doing. If you don't know how to develop your players within whatever system that you're going to play, your system isn't going to be very good. That's just my honest opinion. I've ran it since 2008. Kurt's very similar with it. So we've seen box and ones, triangle and twos. We'll be covering some of that stuff for you in special situations that we have that. So I'll put the link up. So again, you don't have to be in attendance. You'll get the price. You'll get all 12 videos for that price. So there's that special code. That saves you $10 if you put that in the checkout, okay? So for me, I have this little board here, a little digital board. Can I get a thumbs up if you can see the board? Are we seeing it or not? Kurt? Is it? Okay, thank you. So when I'm flowing in transition, things for us are kind of dictated on where our, this position for me, I call the 5. Okay, the F. So if he's already ahead of the ball, we can do one of two things. We're either going to do cutting and creating that big gap here, or we may have them loop and set like a step up or a blind ball screen. We'll do that, and based upon your player, it could be a pop, it could be a roll. So what we're really working on is the situation. So for me, in transition, if the ball's in the backcourt, my 2, which is the SG, and the G is the 3-man for me, would be like free throw line extended wide. As soon as they get to mid-court, they're going to take and space. And the only reason we want to throw to these people, to be honest with you, is they're open. If they're not open, we're not throwing. We're not just throwing it to throw it. We want it to be here and then off, much like Kurt. If the ball goes there, this player's in the backcourt. If he throws it from the backcourt, I'm not expecting this player to cut through. I'm expecting him to kind of come. And the reason why I do this is if he threw it, this player should be shooting or attacking. Majority of the time. If they're not that good at it, they can pass. We respace. And now we have our through cut. And if they're doing that big time, denying that corner like Keith was talking about, we get that nice angle drop. I'm a coach that doesn't like the drop in straight lines. I like them coming at the angle. So that's that for us. If they're behind them, like there was there, okay, they're behind and they drive and they kick and it's a middle penetration, we're trying to space and flow right in. So you still get, your point guard would fill behind and your 5 is coming up and you're in your kickback action, timing, and getting straight downhill. We get a lot of that straight in flow. If we're getting across mid-court, here's our next read for you. If it's across mid-court, and the player cannot get to the rim. My player is usually about right here. So if you had a volleyball line on your court, this volleyball line, this is where my player would be. So if we want to get it to our 5, we stretch it, and now we want our 5 to get in the lane line.
Oh, we can read. I don't know if those are girl books or not, but kids are like.
Okay, sorry, Tony. So now we pass it, and now we're straight into what you guys have seen. The reason why I want this player in the lane line is if they get bumped, hopefully they could still get here. And then by them getting it here, this is like a brush screen, and we're driving right off of it. We're trying to get them there in a straight line. My thing is if they're really wide here and they throw it and we do our cutting action, they're going to get pushed off the lane line. My thing is usually is you want to get straight to the rim. So if your player's wide, how do you get them over? This point guard needs to get here. So we are really reading this stuff. If my player is able to get in here, it's just trail action. If the F was in front of the ball, we're sending them through. So this F needs to be pretty good for you. If they're behind, I like them more behind. Because if they're playing defense right here at the nail, that's where you start getting your action of dribbling and getting 2 guys on the ball. Okay? So One of my other things that we like is it's an automatic read. Some people ask me, well, what if you get pushed in the outer third? Well, I have a call for it. It's usually pistol. It's not the everybody else's pistol. It's my dribble drive version of pistol. So if they get pushed in the outer third, we're dribbling at. We got handoff into ball screen. So you got here on this side of the floor, we get like this. We get a two side, and you can play whatever you want on the weak side of the floor. You can play pin down. You can play 45-degree cut. You can play flare based upon your personnel from year to year. I just don't like it being stationary and allowing both of these players to be in help. So now you got coming off, handoff ball screen here. We'll even do some Kansas. If anybody's familiar with the Kansas high-low offense, or Bill Self calls it fist, where we'll go, we got to our, oh, I'm sorry, that should not have been the point guard. That should have been this player coming off the handoff. Okay, so we'll go, it came off the handoff, we'll go ball screen, and then we can go ball screen, down screen. Look to go here, dive, cut through, and play. A nice little action I like. If you do that, Kurt shows it sometimes, is get him here in the short corner. And this player can almost dribble straight back up and get a two-man game action here, depending on how they're playing. So we do, the other flow action that we like to do is drag screens and double drags. For us, those are usually a call off of makes or off of free throw situations. The other team's shooting free throws, I will probably do that. So say it was a free throw situation and our center and our forward are behind the ball. This sometimes happens, should not happen. If we see this situation, we want our center to be the first screener about right there, and then the second one about the nail, about in line with the nail. So that means rib line, guys, for me. And the first one would be about volleyball line, splitting the volleyball line and lane line. We can do it one of two ways. We like to clear it. We like to clear this player on our double drag call. And this is some Golden State Warriors stuff. I'm going to give credit where I get it from. And we really love our guard to reject this and just go straight right hand drive, or put it in our left hand, cross it over, and then take them. So come off. Our center rolls. Our forward goes here. We really like to do throwbacks. And now we go look to hit post. And now we like to do a split action. Okay, that's our double drag clear. Okay, if our center was already low, this is where, based upon how they defend, we'll go drag to a ghost, or not even, or fake it, and then create that triple gap. Here, drive it, and now we're straight into dribble drive. We even, depending on this guy, we'll even send him low, put him in the dunker spot, lift him here. Okay. One more that we'll do. I think Kurt showed this, is if my point guard gets pushed out wide, we'll run a X action. We'll dribble here, here up, and send them right to the block. And then step out, and then bring our center into a ball screen. Bring him out, come off, roll, and now we're straight into dribble drive. So I started incorporating a little bit more ball screens because the last few seasons, my point guard wasn't as dynamic at doing it. And I used my best player here as a screener because that would take usually both players and create a huge triple gap. So if this guy's a player for you, you need to use him sometimes as a screener or a through cut guy and get him lost. Not always the traditional this. So if we do this, everybody usually wants to do that and throw and cut, right? So I like to get the ball to the 3 side of the floor. 3 side is where the SG is for us. I like to get the ball to the 3 side of the floor because now this is a right-hand drive. Most people begin their dribble drive to the 2 side. It's really good if that 2 player is a lefty. But we know not everybody has lefties. I mean, my best season running this, lefty 2-man, lefty point guard. I think Kurt mentioned that the other night about wanting to have a lefty point guard. Somebody asked about calls. I have verbals. I have like one name verbals because I'm either not really good at teaching it to my players with this, or they're not quick enough yet at picking up what I'm seeing on the floor. So for us, I don't care. Everybody in America knows what drop means. I still use the word drop. But we'll also, our hand signal is thumbs down. So I might just go thumbs down 2, thumbs down 3. This is typical Wahlberg stuff. Thumbs down 32. Thumbs down 23. A new one that we're messing with that no one ever does, and we can do it out of transition, is a thumbs down 25. Okay? No one talks about drops up here. Nobody talks about back doors in the slots. Everybody talks about back doors from the corners. So these letters and numbers don't matter up here. These letters, I should say, point guard doesn't matter. Dribble drive's universal, 4 spots. So if I ran a drop 25 with my group, it'd be penetration. That means he's lifting. And typically, this is me seeing that this player is being denied. Most people would say that's great. That gives this player a gap. Yes. But we want to try to get him the ball and make him pay for that because he's our best player. Or they're face guarding, whatever you want to call it. So now this player comes and we drive across. We're not in this situation. I know most of us are going to teach, get here. This situation, it's like Princeton action. You're going to go here, send him back door. And for us, It's a read. If this is a guard, he's probably going to go fill out. If he's a post player and you missed him or he has post ability, this player can come up, hit, and you can leave him in there and you can get some post up. So you gave him a backdoor opportunity and a post up. If it's just a guard, you would respace it or go this. He can even go that way. And now that gives this player the option to play baseline or middle. This player. Okay, this player should have a shot. Because we know if this player went backdoor on that and he was in the corner, so let me show. We did our kick up and now we're driving across and they cut backdoor. Who's got to help on that? SG's player. So that should allow here. Now, this takes some reading in your program. Everybody's been taught that this player should go here. So you might want to have a verbal call, drop 25 post, drop 25 down, drop 25 hold. Drop 25 might just mean you didn't get it, you clear out. So you might want to have another word so that you can really post it. So everybody thinks dribble drive is just all perimeter oriented. You can run some things to get the ball inside. So then your center can come up and you can play high-low. We're going to be going over different things and different personnel on if you have two bigs, what do you use? I get the question all the time in emails from some people over the years. What do you do if a kid can't deck it and you need to play him? Well, you can tell him he cuts back door all the time. Or you can get his butt in the gym and make him a better basketball player and get him more skilled and make him shoot. Because none of this stuff, guys, I'm going to be honest. I mean, my aha moment was stuff. I had a podcast last night with Doc Shepler, and it was about 10 years ago about playing off of closeouts. And that's when I learned dribble drive, is if your offense is not creating long closeouts, you have a crappy offense. I don't care if you're running flex, high-low, ball screen, what you're doing. If you're not putting teams in closeout situations, you will not score the ball. Plain and simple. You will struggle to score the ball. So I've gotten more concepts with it. I even try to get it more simple. I was much like Vance. I was anti-ball screen. Anti ball screen. And now I put some in because I think it was Greg Campy. If anyone heard Greg Campy's clinic where he says, if you're not putting a ball screen in, then you're not coaching. That's what most parents will think because that's what they see in the NBA. So that's, if there's any questions on my little transition stuff, I have some things written up. I have a document behind here in the screen that has a little bit of some of my stuff. Feel free to email me. I'll get it to you guys. But I'll open it up. If anyone else wants to share tonight, that's awesome too. Because we're always learning. Me and Kurt don't claim to be the experts on everything, but I think we know we've studied it and learned it fairly well, and we feel that we can pass on some of the things we've learned over the years. I wrote my ebook in 2012. Kurt has a lot of content, and we started getting all these questions about how. I love it, but how do you implement it? I mean, I don't know anyone on this call if they've ever had that question with dribble drive, other than, oh, I got the blood drills. Use the blood drills. I mean, that's the universal answer. I see Ryan Kelly laughing, but I think that's the universal answer, isn't it, Ryan? Is that basically the universal answer? You got to get the blood drills. I mean, we'll discuss those, but there's more to to the offense than just teaching the blood drills. So anyone got any questions for me? I hope you got something from me. If you're not using that digital board, it's from iPlaybook, Apple product. It's free. Anybody got anything for me?
Mark, I have a question.
Go ahead. Who's this?
This is Pete from Texas.
Okay, Pete. How can I help you?
Mark, you showed me the split series when you gave it to the post, and then you went to go screen, and then there was a cut afterwards, right?
Okay.
Is that would you call it a split series also, or a split action?
Splitting the post. Yeah.
Splitting the post. Okay. Is that what you would call it also if the feed was from the corner?
So if it went from G to C?
It went from the point guard to the corner, and then to the two man to the post,
Okay.
and then the passer is the screener, and he would come up and.
You can do this. You can split it. Yeah.
Okay, but that's what you would call it. That's your terminology for it.
Yeah, we call it splitting the post. Yeah, we call it our split series of cutting. I mean, a lot of times, and this is combining some Rick Torbett stuff, if you will. Here we might even go Laker cuts. Or some people would refer to that as an X cut, right? What you were asking me. So we got my center dropped off the screen somehow, but my center's on the perimeter, where every center wants to be. Okay, so yeah, I mean, any of this type of stuff, and
Share
you'll
your
get.
screen again, Mark.
Oh, I'm not sharing it. My fault, guys. Rookie mistake. Not that I haven't done enough of these. So, yeah, if it's baseline, I like to be more of a cut, because depending, I mean, this is tough to say, but your players need to know who's on your floor. They need to know who should be getting the shots. The biggest misconception of dribble drive is it's an equal opportunity shooting offense. It's not. If your best players aren't getting the most shots, then you need to teach role definition, in my opinion. So if it goes here, we'll get that a lot. We'll get this probably first time. They might even slip it. If they're doing switching, you might have this player just kind of split the gap. Because at the high school level, Pete, do you coach high school?
Yes, it's because we have I love that action, but on the backside, we actually cut the backside guy, and we send in your case you call it the 3-man. We send the 3-man to like an open window type free throw line extended, and what we do is when we cut the point guard or the guard, whoever's cutting, okay, we do that, and then we move up the shooting guard to the top, while the guard in the corner is actually coming to screen for the point guard.
So
while that action is happening, the back action never down.
yeah, that's standard. That's a standard Wahlbergism right there, right? You hit the post, opposite top dives.
Or dive, yeah. And then what we're doing is we're just hitting that. We're hitting the open window pretty much opposite, and we're creating that triple gap to go into the dribble drive. So that's one of our entries. And I was just kind of wondering what you call it. Actually, we don't call it the split, so we have different terminologies.
Usually we're
on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, I've X cuts. I mean, we've even got to a point where know your players on the floor. So say the PG is the best shooter on the floor, and he hits the post on strong side, we'll do that. Follow that one? We'll just screen for whoever the better shooter is. I mean, that takes some years of putting it in. My experience is it probably takes your kids a full season to learn it, maybe even a season and a half to understand the nuances of playing at the speed you need to play at to run the dribble drive. For the guys that don't know me, I'm a big proponent of using his press as well. When I run dribble drive fully, I believe that you need to play a press defense. I know Mike Neighbors will tell you otherwise. He runs pack line with it and plays fast. But I believe you use his press or Kurt's multiple pressure system or a run and jump, some sort of pressure, because it goes hand in hand. Hope that answered your question, Pete.
No, that was perfect, Mark. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Joe. Joe Rodriguez, you had your hand up, or was that for Kurt earlier?
That was for earlier. No worries. It was going to be a thumbs up.
Gotcha. Did we get Ryan's question answered there, Kurt? I don't know if we saw it.
Yeah, I sent him my email, and he's going to follow up later on. He had to take off there, but yeah, he's in on the presentation too, so we're good to go there.
Okay. Can we have my email address? Sure, Kevin. Coach Marc Hart at Gmail. Oops, that's going to go to someone that sent me a private message. So let's put it to everyone. Okay. Kurt said it in front of people. Me and him are pretty open book. I mean, we don't hide much. I mean, you'll probably hear some of this stuff again if you paid for the clinic, but we have all the stuff we're working on. I'm going to have game films. He has his Clackamas stuff. I have some high school stuff that I'll show. He has it you're going to get kind of two feels, women's side and guy's side. I mean, it's universal. So the game's the game. I don't care if it's girls or boys. I mean, create gaps and let them play. Anybody hasn't got anything? I mean, join the Facebook group. This will be on there, the YouTube. So tonight, kind of giving away some stuff for you guys, get you guys a feel of who we are. If you were just wondering who we were, we're on the fence about getting a course kind of situation. Doesn't hurt our feelings either way, what you want. Flare screens in transition. Kurt's a big proponent of that. That's Docket, and I know Doc loves them too. So, Kurt, you got anything for them left?
Well, the flares are great stuff. And I think you mentioned it, one of your things too, on the backside too, moving those guys, whether it's pin down, flare, or just interchange. If you watch the NBA guys talk, they're always trying to move that nail defender. And I didn't have that in my presentation. I probably should have. You've got to figure out ways to move the nail defender if you're in some sort of drive motion. And to answer Doc's question, we run some quick little hitters that flow out of it. I didn't do it today. That'd be something that we're definitely putting in our A to Z. But flares are great, whether it's backside flares, dribble handoff into flares. Those are things that occupy a backside, give your guys room to drive. And then if they do help off of that stuff, you're making them pay over the top. It's important in whatever, to me, it's important in whatever you do that it flows. Now, we were specific to dribble drive tonight and tried to share that. But to me, flow it's kind of a buzzword now. And just like the word Spain for back screen, ball screen, flare screen, I it's like one of those ones that it's been something that I watched the team in Idaho run in 1999. So Spain didn't start running it, and to call it Spain, somebody just took it and did it. But all of our stuff is just stuff that we've probably either recycled or picked up or watched or incorporated into our dribble drive. But you could be a blocker mover guy and use most of this stuff. Things that are great in every offense: flares, moving the nail defender, trying to get the great gaps for your players, rejecting ball screens is to me on the women's side huge, because on the guys' side, I played with enough 6'11" guys. I could throw the ball anywhere I wanted to, and they would catch it. They were 250 pounds. They were going to elbow the guy in the chin. On the women's side, we're not all that different size-wise. So we get a ton of teams that switch against us. So, we've got to approach those things a little bit differently. And so I've found rejecting ball screens is almost more effective. And we sometimes use ball screens to set up our flares. So it's just so many great things about the game and however you play it. But like I said, for us, I think flow, to me, it works. It's important for all of us to be able to just get into that offense and go from there.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we'll take even had a speaker on, and he's pretty well known on Twitter. We'll even take stuff from Mike Lynch, Motion Strong stuff, double staggers away.
Staggers away.
I used to be just so diehard Wahlberg that you can't screen. You can't. You got to just open up a triple grab, and we're grinding and grinding and grinding and trying to get there. And biggest thing that we'll probably hit on too is decision making. I mean, you can run the greatest dribble drive in the world, but your kids need to learn the decisions inside the paint. I've watched lots of game film, so has Kurt, where you get the kid in the paint and they're shooting it over 6 arms. Just because the coach said, I got to get to the rim. I got to get to the rim. And they don't make the reads to get the ball the next best action, an NBA acronym there. We're fired up about it. For guys that don't know me, I had a blog that I started, I don't know, it was like 2010. Coach Marc Hart .blogspot.com. It's still up there. I don't think the files are still up there, but a lot of some of the stuff I've been putting on Twitter where it says DDM Hoop Talk, if you see the date, it will say like 2011, like the diagrams and stuff. So I'm a hoop nerd. I'm a hoop junkie. If I can help you in any way, Pete, love to talk to you. Just got your email, man. So anytime you want to talk, or here's if you guys want to text me, call me, I'm an open book. I mean, I don't have anything to hide for you guys. Just love sharing the game, and really blessed that Kurt came in to my life through COVID and we started talking to do this. I think we can help a lot of coaches with dribble drive. Vance is the expert, and we're never going to say he's not. So recommend the Heat, 45 cuts. They've been great at cutting, right, Kurt? Like off the ball.
Yeah, the NBA, there's kind of that general rule of the 3-man side that one of them has to cut. Sometimes it's the middle guy, so when they get into those isolations, they're always going to cut somebody from the weak side, and that's kind of out of that 5-out spacing, where the one guy will circle behind, and then out of the 3-man weak side, whether it's the middle guy or a designated position, maybe it's Adebayo, that's his rule that he has to cut, and then Hero and Robinson just post up. But that's a tough guard. When you get a baseline drive and a 45 cutter from the weak side, it's just like the tee-up in the Wahlberg. It's a tough guard. But if you're going to play 5-out, those 45-degree cuts from the weak side are magic. And that's really not that hard to just run an isolation, get your one the ball, and let them go. And if they got any kind of game, they're at least going to get to the Nash spot underneath the rim. And then once they get underneath that rim, you get a 45 cut from, if you want to designate your big to make the cut. To me, that's what I would do. I would designate, because I don't want it to be the middle guy. The NBA guy's IQ is off the charts. That's one thing when you hang around those guys. Not only are they amazing athletes, but their basketball IQ is incredible. Spent some time with Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal. I was one day from missing Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, Jason Tatum, and I think it was Embiid playing 2-on-2 in LA. Oh my gosh. And I had to fly out. This is Drew Hanlon. So, I mean, I just was a fly on the wall. I think they thought, who's the old white guy over there? I got a question from Andrew. I was a 1-2-2 guy at the end, or diamond. Early in my career, a lot of 2-2-1, but I really morphed into that, depending on my personnel, just because we were so guard-oriented my last 5 years. Running 5 guards essentially out there. One of them we called the 4, but they really weren't. They could just do a better job in the post than everybody else. And we were pretty effective with it, running a lot of different ways. We ran a 1-2-2 hard, soft, deny, a match. I'm a big fan of taking away your point guard. So if you have a team that has a great point guard, just do different things to get it out of their hands. And if you have a shot clock in California or whatever, so you can disrupt an offense. You can really disrupt. And that's what I think your goal of your defense should be, whether you're a press guy or a half court guy, disrupt. Don't let them run their stuff. So there you have it.
So, all right, guys.
Good work, Mark. Nice job.
I thought it was a good one. You always hope everybody got something out of it. If you got any questions for me and Kurt, just send them over. We'll get back to you guys. And if not, I think we got another one maybe planned for next Wednesday, a little bit of something for our last one before we get started on Monday the 14th. So we are 12 days away from kicking this off. So hope to see you guys on it. If not, send us an email. We can help you guys anytime.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Hey, guys.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Have a great evening.